Hi, in this tutorial, Tutorial 5, Section 3, I will be expanding upon the Button and Object Experiment program by adding new code to set some of the properties of the various program elements. Again, this program doesn't actually do anything, but it demonstrates a lot of GAMBAS program object and object properties principles. I will include the entire program's class file in the description below the video. You can follow along creating the program code and double check your code against the code in the description if there are any difficulties. First, open the existing Button and Object Experiment program project. Do this by starting GAMBAS. Choose Recent Projects and then select Button Experiment 1, or alternately you can choose Open Project and navigate to the project in your Programs directory. Remember, we now want to modify the program without necessarily changing the original working version. So, once the Button Experiment 1 project is within the IDE, select the File menu and choose Save Project As. Enter Button Experiment 1A as the new project name and place the project in the correct directory. Check that GAMBAS now shows Button Experiment 1A in the top of the IDE. This has created a new project with a different name, which will allow you to bring up the original unchanged Button project should you run into problems or want to try something else. Remember, this is a great way to add, modify, or reuse code that preserves successful program starting points. And this should be the first thing you do while experimenting and learning. Now that there is a new copy of the Button Experiment program to work on, we are going to modify the program with a little bit of new code and some manipulation of the various program objects' properties. Now, select Button 1 by clicking on it. Then click in the field next to the tooltip property in the Properties pane on the right side of the screen. Enter the text, "This button just brags." The tooltip is what is displayed in the GUI as a help hint when the mouse is hovered over a control. Select Button 2 by clicking on it. Then click in the field next to the tooltip property in the Properties pane on the right side of the screen. Enter the text, change the form's background color. Select Button 3. Then click in the tooltip property and enter the question text, looking for the exit. Finally, select Button 4 and change its tooltip property to End this program. Go ahead and save the project. Remember, it's just good practice to frequently save your work, so that if anything goes wrong, you don't lose a large amount of effort and have to start over. Next, click on Label 1. Hold down the Control key to select multiple objects and click on Label 2 and Label 3. Then, with all of the labels selected, click the Bold Quick button on the editing toolbar to set all of the labels' text to bold. Then select Label 1 by clicking on it. Then click the Text Property field in the Properties pane on the right side of the screen and enter the question text, "What's the most fun?" Select Label 2 by clicking on it. Then click in the Text field and enter the text, "Change Master Background." We can go ahead and see the tooltips in action. Go ahead and run the program by clicking on the Run arrow on the Project toolbar. Then click Button 3 to make Button 4 visible so that we can view the tooltip for all the buttons. Finally, hover the mouse over each button and wait for the tooltip to appear. Now that we have verified the tooltips, go ahead and close the program. Now we are going to add an image to button 1. Select button 1 and move to the Picture Property field in the Properties pane. When you click the Picture field, you will see an X Delete button, which will remove a currently selected image if there is one. There is also a selection with 3 dots, which will bring up a Select a Picture dialog box. Go ahead and select the 3 dots. When the dialog box comes up, click on the Stock tab. Now move down to the icon image labeled GAMBAS. Select the icon. Next, select the 96 point size from the drop-down menu in the dialog box. And then click the OK button. This will place the selected GAMBAS image at the desired size on the button's face. You can select any image in the stock image list. You can also use your own images. Just navigate to the image file's location and select it, though you may need a little image editing ability to create an image of the appropriate size for your use. To display just the image to a program user, turn off the button's border property. To do this, again click button 1, then select the border property and set it to false. The program will now only display a clickable graphic to the user, but it is still using a button control. You can resize the button at design time so you can easily center it on the form. It is also a good idea to resize Label 1's width so you can easily center the text directly under the graphic image. Honestly, you can tweak the exact appearance endlessly to get the program's user interface or UI to look exactly the way you want it to look. But I warn you, this can easily consume all of your time, so it's usually best to get all of the elements working before you immerse yourself in perfecting the aesthetics of a program. Finally, you can tell the program to limit the area of the screen that will trigger the program event when the user selects the image during runtime. You can do this by manually, again, resizing the button so that it just fits the image. But the easiest method is to simply set the button's auto resize property to true. This will make the button the same size as the image when the program launches. There are other methods for using images as elements of the user interface which I will cover later, but this is a very simple method for accomplishing this programming task. And again, go ahead and save the project at this point. After saving a project, you can always run your program to see how it looks at that point. Just click the Run arrow on the project bar. When you are done, just close the program. In the next tutorial, Tutorial 5.4, I will be detailing a few more object properties and also describing the fundamental concepts of positioning objects within containers, such as forms. And finally, in Tutorial 5.5, I will be wrapping up the button and object experiment program with a few more tweaks and demonstrating a few more program and programming principles. Again, thanks for taking a look at these videos and joining me as I explore the GAMBAS language and making these videos. I hope you find them useful.